If you want to understand just how much contempt the pompous and arrogant EU bureaucratic elites hold the general population in, look no further than the EU Copyright Directive. We've been talking about this for over a year now, and all of the various parliament votes, discussions and trilogues have demonstrated just how relentless and desperate they are to ensure that this new directive comes to pass. In every conceivable way that matters, it will allow them to heavily censor the internet as we know it, benefiting some greedy corporate intellectual property rights holders and IP lawyers, and also certain authoritarians in government. It will crush free speech and effectively break the web as we know it. And despite all of the public outcry, all of the campaigning by the people to stop this, to fight against it, the Copyright Directive remains on course. It continues to move forward without any consultation. The people who will be worst affected, the general public, who are having this forced upon them against their will. The attitude of the elites is, to hell with them. The freedom of the citizenry is always an obstacle to tyrants. Every time we manage to throw a spanner in the works, or even momentarily delay the introduction of Articles 11 and 13 of the Copyright Apocalypse, they regroup, regain their grip of the rope that little bit tighter, and then the tug of war continues to move in their direction. There's an aggression in their methods. Politicians are supposed to serve the will of the people, of course, not their own interests, and certainly not the will of unelected lobbyists. We should not be living in subjugation to the political class. If society at large does not want something, then the discussion should be over. But the EU doesn't tend to take no for an answer, especially when it comes to the views of the public, and we've seen this in numerous referendums that don't go their way. They just keep trying and pushing till they get what they want. The elites truly believe themselves to be superior to us petty commoners, and they will just carry on stridently defying us at every turn. Anyway, the following is from Electronic Frontier Foundation from earlier this week. The final version of the EU's Copyright Directive is the worst one yet. Under the final text, any online community, platform or service that has existed for 3 or more years or is making more than 10 million euros per year is responsible for ensuring that no user ever posts anything that infringes copyright, even momentarily. This is impossible, and the closest any service can come to this is spending hundreds of millions of euros to develop automated copyright filters. Those filters will subject all communications of every European to interception and arbitrary censorship if a black box algorithm decides their text, pictures, sounds, or videos are a match for a known copyrighted work. They are a gift to fraudsters and criminals, to say nothing of censors, both government and private. Just as a quick aside, not only will governments love this level of power, but I have a feeling that there could be those in the movie and TV industries who will see this as an opportunity to censor any negative audience reviews and criticisms of any woke social justice movies and TV shows they make under the grounds of copyright infringement. That's just my prediction. These filters are unaffordable by all but the largest tech companies, all based in the USA, and the only way Europe's homegrown tech sector can avoid the obligation to deploy them is to stay under 10 million euros per year in revenue and also shut down after 3 years. America's big tech companies would certainly prefer not to have to install these filters, but the possibility of being able to grow unchecked without having to contend with European competitors is a pretty good second prize, which is why some of the biggest US tech companies have secretly lobbied for filters. Here's where things get even more unworkably worse. Amazingly, the tiny, useless exceptions in Article 13 are too generous for the entertainment industry lobby, and so politicians have given them a gift to ease the pain. Under the final text, every online community, service or platform is required to make best efforts to license anything their users might conceivably upload, meaning that they have to buy virtually anything any copyright holder offers to sell them at any price, on pain of being liable for infringement if a user later uploads that work. If I'm honest, this directive is so draconian that it's almost unbelievable. I know a lot of people believe that it's being proposed by people who don't know what they're doing, by some clueless boomers who don't understand how the internet works. And I'm sure that's partially true. Some EU politicians probably think this is actually a good thing and they don't realise the unintended consequences. But given how relentlessly it's being pushed and how destructive it will be to free speech in a time of massive censorship online, I actually think most of them do understand what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know this is their opportunity to introduce widespread censorship across the continent and hand the mainstream media a massive monopoly on the passage of information online. This will be used to crush nationalist and populist movements across Europe by making alternative news media reporting practically impossible. In short, the legacy media will regain control of the narrative and start-up alt-media news sites will be unable to compete in the market. The same will be true of small up-and-coming free speech social networks who won't be able to afford the link taxes and upload filtering systems. I shouldn't have to restate the obvious that the large, big-moneyed legacy mainstream media is mostly in political and ideological alignment with globalist interests, such as those of the European Union. Article 11, which allows news sites to decide who can link to their stories and charge for permission to do so, has also been worsened. The final text clarifies that any link that contains more than single words or very short extracts from a news story must be licensed, with no exceptions for non-commercial users, non-profit projects, or even personal websites with ads or other income sources, no matter how small. As you can see, that's going to once again massively benefit only the mainstream media. Now that the directive has emerged from the trilogue, it will head to the European Parliament for a vote for the whole body either during the March 25th to 28th session or the April 15th to 18th session, with elections scheduled in May. So it looks like it's now or never to stop the EU copyright directive. 2019 will be the final chance to end it. Check out https://saveyourinternet.eu if you're in Europe, of course, and contact your local MEPs. The petition has been signed now by 4 million people. Thousands of young people protested against the directive in Cologne this week. This is an image from Julia Reda's Twitter, and more demonstrations are planned closer to the final vote. Whether it was the likes of SOPA, PIPA, ACTA before, or the EU copyright directive now, the powers that be will continue to keep trying to destroy the internet, and we will keep trying to stop them. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.